For too long our veterans have lived on the streets. Where is the community gone? Where is the justice gone where we're not standing together, fighting for our children, fighting for their future and fighting for their country? Enough needs to be enough. Too many of our children have died at the hands of the state. Have not had their justice because the state have not allowed them to.
The British government have been complacent in all child abuse. We've proved it. We won the biggest court case in Europe, going through a government inquiry called the HIA inquiry. Me, Bobby and 533 victims. Changed 127 laws. There's too many government politicians involved in the rape and abuse of innocent little children.
For many, especially me, I thought children will be safe in children's homes. But I was too blind. I'm not going to go all through the ins and outs with my son. But he was first of all placed with his father, who was controlling, violent and abusive towards me. He used to use Ryan as a pawn. In January 2019, he was removed from his father's care due to parental alienation. In that January, I found out that he destroyed everything of Ryan's, every photo, every memory that we had for Ryan was gone. He was in a place for first-time foster carers. He used to torment him by saying his mummy was outside the door. Ryan's head was all over the place. He grew into fear because of his father. In December, I then got a phone call to tell me that my son was now in a children's home. I thought he'd be safe. I thought that he'd be happier there. I thought he would get the help. When I first seen my son in January, he had that little smile back. He told me he remembered that I loved him. And then seeing him in February, and what I seen was horrifying. It broke me, and even to this day now it is breaking me. My little boy was held face down. He had flooded his room. I reported this ground restraint because it's illegal in the UK to use a ground restraint on a child. They'd left him with bruises to his neck, his jaw and his upper arms. The police didn't care. Social services didn't care. I've now been blocked from any type of information from my son. In June I had a 10-minute phone call with my little boy. He told me that he loved me. He told me that they was making him talk to his father again. I have not seen or heard from my son since June this year. I have begged for information. I've begged that it's going to let me know that it's alive and well, and I don't even get that information. I'm standing here today for my two sons, Ryan and Harley, but not for them, but for every stolen child in the UK. Because we need to stand together now. We need to stop this. We need our children home where they're safe. I've been talking to the Blair twins, who have given me a lot of support. And I know they've changed these laws, and they've given me the strength to keep fighting now for my son. But together we are stronger, and we need to stand together, because our children are needed in us now more than ever.
I'm an ex-army medic. I got diagnosed with PTSD 2008. I had my children removed on the 15th of January 2015, listed as a danger to them for having PTSD. My children have actually been told by a child psychiatrist that I am dangerous. I could snap at any point. I will need medication for life. When I put my story out a couple of months ago, the amount of veterans that came forward, we have 200 veterans in Northern Ireland that have had their children removed, and another 1,800 that are on the Child Protection Register. That's just in Northern Ireland. So what is it here? You know, it's massive, massive numbers, and you're being targeted for simply having PTSD. You serve your country to do a job and then you're listed as a danger. It's not acceptable. My 5 children have all been separated. Anyone that served Northern Ireland will know it's still hit and miss. 2 of my children are in Londonderry. One of my children is in Coleraine, which is okay-ish. 2 are in Ballymena. So they're spread out across the whole of Northern Ireland. I have very minimal visitation and have slowly been phased out. On the 18th of November, my youngest son goes up for forced adoption, and my 4 other children, because they're classed as too old, will go into long-term foster care. And that is just simply for having PTSD. So we need to make a change, we need to make a difference, and we need them to actually understand that PTSD is not a mental health illness that is a danger in any way.
Basically, I became a mum for the first time at 19. I was abused as a child in the care system. I was failed massively. My first child I was in a DV relationship with. I begged and begged social services to help me leave this relationship because it wasn't good. Instead, they snatched my baby. Allegations were made that I neglected her. There was an allegation I broke her arm, which I had to get medical evidence from the hospital to prove. She was born with a shoulder dislocation. So they took her and I didn't even get a chance. She went up for adoption. I had my last goodbye contact 7 years ago. I went on to have further children. They told me that my children would stay with me if I agreed to support and do courses. I did that. A complete lie. The minute I pushed that baby out, they were at the hospital bed waiting. Never stood a chance. I've done everything they could have possibly asked me to do. I did DV courses 3 times over. I did courses they asked me to do for parental. I did everything and it just wasn't good enough. All I can honestly say is never trust a social worker, never, because he will fail you massively. Back in 2016, I was a victim of a rape. I was held hostage by a convicted rapist of 13 years. Do you know what the police did? Arrested him and sent him to prison for a month and released him on a conditions he'll remain in Ireland. Now disclosed he's back in Cheshire. He never went to Ireland, never went. One of my children are possibly his. They told me he could have unsupervised contacts if that was agreed, that he was a potential father. How can a convicted rapist have unsupervised contact? That's how you know how corrupt our social services are. That's how you know how corrupt our police are. They're not there to protect you. You know, they don't care how you're failing as a parent. They don't care if you're struggling. All they're interested in is your baby. Now I want everyone to be aware, and I'm sure most of you here are in the same situation with your children not with you. And I don't know how social services can live on a day-to-day basis just for a pay rise, because that's what it's all for, money, to snatch somebody's baby away from them. How can they say that I'm an unfit mother if they've never seen me do it? How can they say that I can't look after my children if they've been at the hospital bed waiting once I've given birth?
Our son was born in 2008. The relationship went tits up basically. I ended up leaving. And apparently she was on the social services for about 6 months. She got into a relationship with the next door neighbour, say about 6 months after I left. He started abusing my son. Social services didn't do no check on him, and he ended up murdering him. Basically, giving titles. He filmed all the abuse on his mobile phone, titles like Happy Slap, where he hit him on the head 13 times. And my ex said she didn't know nothing about it. She didn't know he was getting abused or anything like that by him. And social services, afterwards, at the trial, I had meetings with them. I asked them questions, and they said, we'll find out for you. Another 6 months along the line. I'm still waiting for the results of them. And then they says, oh, well, after the trial, we found out stuff that the judge didn't know about. So that's bullshit. And he's doing 24 years in prison at the minute. That's why I can't stand them. Because they just tell lies after lies after lies. And it's about time it stops. If I can stop one child getting abused, then my son's not been killed in vain. Thank you.
Thank you all so much from the bottom of my heart for speaking out for the children. What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!